everyone! Are you ready for the first garden tour of the fall and winter season, or the 2020 season? Because I know that I am. Let's go. Hi you guys, so for those of you who are new here, I garden in Zone 8B here in North Florida. So fortunately for me, that means I get to garden all year round, and some of the more lengthy videos that I do tend to be my garden tours. So today will be one of those where I show you around the garden, show you what's doing well, what's not doing well, and what I'm growing for this fall and winter season. So it is a little bit chilly this morning for the first time really. Here in Florida. Well, not the first time, but it's gotten a little cold and then it quickly warmed back up. But today is actually kind of chilly. So up until now, I have had tomatoes just absolutely thriving because it's been so hot and warm. And then I've had all my lettuces and a lot of my cool season vegetables kind of not loving it so much. A lot of my lettuces are trying to bolt. Anyways, you'll see this as we go around. So over here we have the first of my herb beds where we've got some echinacea still going, sage. Here's where some strawberries were and some weeds I gotta get out. It looks like I have all sorts of ground cherries self-seeding. Look at this whole thicket of ground cherries. So some look kind of like viola or pansy starts to, so I'm kind of just letting some of this take over. It might end up being one of those situations where you're kind of nurturing a weed, but that's chives. This is stevia. That's a Mexican sunflower, aloe, milkweed, some cilantro back there, and basil, hyssop, which is not really doing so well since the spring. And over here we've got some lavender, it's a chamomile, fennel, tulsi, lemon balm, that's motherwort in the back. This is African blue basil. I don't know if you saw, I posted a video a while back and it was like right at the very beginning of this season, and I said I'm just sticking this stick in here because it had broken off another piece and it looked sad, but it's completely propagated itself. They're so easy to propagate based off of a cutting, and it's completely come back, and I just chopped so much of it the other day. And here we have my scarlet runner beans just absolutely taking over the trellis. So I planted these in the spring and it quickly got so hot that I had a lot of blossoms dropping and not a lot of beans, excuse me car, and not a lot of beans staying. So I decided to try them again here in the fall, and I do see some beans, still a lot of blossoms dropping, but I think it's just because it's still been so hot. So I have hope that now that it's cooling, or kind of cooling, I think it's supposed to warm back up, but I'm really hoping I can get some scarlet runner beans. Either way, the flowers are beautiful, all the pollinators love them, so I don't feel like I'm losing out on anything if I don't really get a lot of beans, so we'll see. Just look how pretty. I love the blossoms though. They're so pretty and just like everywhere. But you can see where a lot of blossoms were and have been dropping on these little twigs. So I'm not sure if it's just still been too hot. I occasionally get a couple, like here are some that are starting to grow. But then also you see a lot that didn't. So I don't know. I really don't know. Either way, very beautiful. Look at these just shining in the sun. Oh, I just love that. So pretty. Over here, I've got my second herb bed, which has bachelor buttons, some trailing rosemary, just some marigolds that I thought were pretty. I always love planting flowers. Some milkweed. I probably need to cut these back. I do live in Florida where there is a native population in South Florida, so I don't feel like it is super awful for me to still have milkweed growing. Even if I do cut it back, it still starts growing again anyway. But just to help encourage the migration pattern, especially if you live somewhere who's not kind of close to Florida, like California or more northern, especially California because it's still growing and warm enough to grow in California. But make sure that you're cutting your milkweed back so that it encourages the monarch migration to Mexico or more southern areas where monarchs tend to go. So it's a healthy tip to keep the population of our monarchs going well, is to make sure that you cut your milkweed back. And I'll probably still cut mine back anyway. We'll see. However, the flowers are looking absolutely gorgeous, so I would hate to have to cut them. How pretty. And then I have some Mexican sunflowers. I have these growing everywhere. I actually found this one growing in my compost pile. So that's a fun thing about compost. However, it keeps kind of falling over, so it's being held up by bamboo. It's a calendula where my strawberries are. Some more echinacea. This one's about to blossom. Some more chamomile. This is catnip. Just a really calming, beautiful herb for just like calming. I know a lot of people think of it for cats, but it's actually very good for humans as well. Some basil. This is yarrow, which will have really pretty flowers. And this has been my favorite right now, is this amazing aloe that's blooming. Look at these. Isn't that so pretty? Oh my gosh. Can't get over it. On the back side here, I have some holy basil, some oregano, some more yarrow and cilantro, and I think some lavender hiding back there. I guess I'll start with this lettuce bed next because it's shining so beautifully in the sun. My lettuces, like I mentioned earlier, have been doing well, growing very, very quickly. However, they have seemed on the verge of bolting because it has been still so hot here. This is like an oak leaf lettuce. I've been getting a lot of lettuces though. It doesn't look too bad. Like it's, and then there's some of these other ones that are just getting really tall. I'm very scared they're gonna bolt. This is, I believe, what is this one? I'm not sure. It says ruby red, but that's not very red, is it? It's a little red. I think this is prize head, black seeded Simpson. I mean, look at these. Some of them are just growing so funky and just like these are gonna bolt quick. These always bolt quick for me. I think I really want to try some new lettuces. This is a red romaine, not very crisp feeling, which I think is due to the heat. Like even my normal romaine is not very crisp and kind of growing just really funky. I would say a good tip though, if you're wanting more crisp lettuce, is to make sure that you're picking it in the colder time of day. Like for me, that would be here in the morning, because that is going to help me get the more crisp lettuce than it would be in the heat of the day when it's kind of wilty and not as good. It's kind of hard for it to come back from that. It can a little bit, but it's definitely better to pick it in the morning. You can also help perk up your lettuces with a cold ice bath, which I've been doing as well, but still not as crisp as I'd like it. I also have some red mustards back here. Pretty much everything I have is growing kind of wonky. I really don't know why that is, but maybe it's been because of the heat. But these are really pretty. And then I had some little beets going back here. I think these are Romanesco. Those two are Romanesco. And then I have my peas, which I had a lot more peas, but a lot of them died. I think it was just too hot, and they didn't really take off as well as I wanted them to. Same thing on this trellis. And then I also have some butternut squashes growing on these trellises. For the most part, this is my kale bed. I have a bunch of dino kale, a blue Jacinto dino kale. I'm gonna fill this spot in with flowers because one of them died here. And then there's something ate that one in the back, but I think it'll come back. And then I have blue curled Scotch kale up here in the front. I've also been battling a huge ant problem. I don't know if you can see it, but almost every plant is like this, and I have no clue what to do about it. Might sprinkle some diatomaceous earth around all of my plants. This is one of those butternut squashes. So back here I have my 2 long trellises, which have all of my tomatoes growing for the fall, which is a new experiment that I'm trying this year. I also have started some carrots, you can barely see them, that are just sprouting up in front of these tomatoes. But yeah, I'm really hoping that I can get some fall tomatoes because I have never tried before, but it tends to have some days that are really cool, but then it always warms back up, and it stays kind of like that until December. So it doesn't start really being consistently cold until January. So I'm really thinking that I can have these tomatoes doing well. If I do see a random frost expected in the forecast, I do have frost protection blankets, so I can always cover them up with that. But for the most part, I think I'll be fine. So I don't know if you can see, but we do have some flowers. I believe I found, oh, there we go, a tomato the other day. Now, I can't remember what kinds these all are at the top of my head until I start seeing them change. I know what I planted, but a lot of my markers have kind of already withered away on me. So I believe this was a blueberry cherry tomato. Got a bunch of different little flowers. I planted some more basils, but they're not really doing so well. I think the ants just keep getting to everything. But this is a straw flower. I don't have much growing on the backside here. I'm not sure what I should grow back here. That is just like one random potato I had sprout up. But if you have any ideas of what I could grow back here, it's gonna be a more shady spot. I would love to know what you think I should grow. Let me know down in the comments below. Would have to be something I can kind of find seeds for, or at the local nursery, because that's been kind of an issue this year. But I do have some space, and this is like the one remaining space I have. So I would love to utilize it with something. I just not quite sure what I should put there, because I kind of have most of the stuff I wanted to grow covered. So I don't know. I would love maybe some kohlrabi, or I was thinking maybe rutabagas, but it really, now that tomatoes are already so grown so big, it's pretty shady. So, and now it's getting colder too, so I don't know. Back here I have my lemongrass, some peppermint, chives, some more milkweed that always stay back there, some lemon balm, nothing in here yet. I've been growing some nettle. It's in its own pot so that it doesn't take over. I'll probably eventually move this to a bigger pot, but so yes, I am purposely growing stinging nettle, which you're probably thinking, why are you doing that, Faith? In most places, it's probably like a nuisance weed, but actually it is so very nutritious and good for you compared side by side with spinach, it actually comes out usually higher than spinach in all of the nutrient categories, and you can pretty much use it in any recipe that you would use spinach for, and all sorts of different recipes. So just wear gloves when you're harvesting it. Anyways, it's one of those wild edibles that are often foraged. I, however, have not had very good luck finding it here in Florida, so I decided to grow it myself because I really want those nutrients. It's a great tea for you to have as well. Wonderful for women, for your kidneys. It's a little bit of a diuretic as well. All around, it's just so good for you. So I really wanted to have a large batch of this. It'll eventually go in a much bigger pot, and I'm very excited about it. There's so much that could be said about it. I wish I could remember everything off the top of my head, but you can see the little fine hairs is how you get the sting in stinging nettle. Okay, so back here, this is passion fruit vine, which I'm trying to grow. And then this is my roselle hibiscus, which looks like it's just about to bloom. These have so pretty blooms. They're in the okra family and is what hibiscus tea is made out of. It's roselle sabdurifa, I think how it's pronounced, and it produces these little calyces which are left over after it flowers, and this is what you would harvest to make tea. So this one hasn't bloomed yet, and this one has. And they'll get bigger, so I'm just gonna let that get bigger. I'm not gonna harvest any of these, but really been loving that. So, I don't know if you can tell where I'm at, but these are my tomato beds. On the back side of this one, I am growing a bunch of bush beans, some dragon's tongue, and some purple. I think they're, I can't remember the purple one's name. I never can for some reason. But some purple bush beans. And then all of my tomatoes still. Some nasturtiums. This is a calendula plant. And on the front side of these tomatoes, I'm growing a bunch of radishes. The tomatoes are looking really well on this side as well. Wow, look at this thing. That is one big blossom. I was expecting that to be fused, but it's not. So on this side, I still have some empty space here, but I'm growing some sweet peas, which are flowering, not edible type of peas that are just smell really good for this trellis on both sides. You can see I'm growing on the other side as well. And then I have all of my broccoli and cauliflowers, and then back here some Brussels sprouts that I picked up from a local nursery because I did not have seeds for this myself. And then on this back side are my cabbages, which are, oh, I was about to say looking so good, but we're looking a little holy, huh? Oh, there's a worm right there. I need to do something about that. But other than that, they're filling in really nice. Here's some Calibos cabbage. This one's called capture green cabbage. And then up here, I'm thinking, I had one randomly sprout, one random onion. So I think I'm just gonna fill this whole section in with onions. So I'm leaving that open for that. I'm gonna play Frisbee with you in a minute. Actually, I'm not really supposed to play Frisbee with you. Someone is getting a little bit older and has arthritis in his back, and his whole back seized up, and he had to go to the vet, Oliver, for some pain medicines and muscle relaxers because he could barely walk. So I think we need to lay off the Frisbee. I know, you hate it. You're so active. So last but not least, I have the stuff that I'm growing around my shed, my garden shed, which is mostly different types of squashes. So I have some butternut squashes and some zucchini and some kaboka squash. It's kind of hard to know what anything is at the moment. I don't really remember what I planted where, but I can't really tell until I see like of fruit on it. So this one I can tell are my zucchinis because I'm getting some zucchini. And then this one I can tell must be a kabocha squash because it's got that round little fruit on it. Whereas like a butternut would have kind of a more, you know, butternut shaped fruit, which I'm not seeing. This is Thai basil, which has been growing here for a long time. It's just now starting to flower. Really pretty. It's very, very fragrant. I find I don't need very much of this and it adds so much flavor. It's just got a kind of a very different basil flavor and very strong. I have some kind of really sickly looking, I think these were supposed to be cucumbers, but they are not looking good. I might just need to pull that out altogether so that it doesn't spread disease everywhere. And then last but not least, I have my Mexican sunflowers. This one self-seeded here because I don't know if you remember, I had one like right here at the very edge. And then this beautiful thing self-seeded, and it is just lovely. There are other little sprouts that also self-seeded that I moved to my herb beds, but you just can't, they're not this big and lovely yet. But the butterflies have been back and loving them. Not today because it's a little bit cooler, but they were out here pretty seriously yesterday. This looks like another zucchini plant, but it's looking a little, I don't know, this one's looking a little worse for wear. So anyway, that's what I'm currently growing this fall season here in my garden. I hope you all enjoyed hanging out with me and getting to see what all I'm growing for fall and winter here in North Florida. I hope it gives you some ideas of things that you can grow in your own gardens. If you have any suggestions of what I should fill in that one spot, let me know. I'm always learning and experimenting and trying different things too. I think that's one of my most favorite things about gardening is that it's always an experiment and always a learning experience for you to grow from. So don't be afraid to get in there and try stuff. I know I am all the time. Every season brings something new and you just never know what that'll be. So I hope you all had fun and I will see you next time.